When you stop chasing, you stop bleeding, because every step towards someone who doesn't value you is a step away from your own worth. Let's get one thing straight right now. If you keep running after them, you're only teaching them to run faster. But the moment you pause, the moment you stop chasing, everything shifts. That's when they start to feel it. Your absence? It's not silence. It's power. And in today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how to flip the script, how to stop being the one who begs for attention and become the one who commands it without saying a word. Before we go further, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Not just because it helps us grow, but because what we're building here is different. This isn't some cheesy pickup game. This is about self-respect, real presence, the kind of quiet confidence that speaks louder than any flashy words ever could. And trust me, folks, you don't want to miss what's coming up next. Hey folks, imagine this for a second. Picture a lion chasing after a butterfly. Doesn't sit right, does it? It looks wrong. Why? Because a lion doesn't chase. A lion waits. A lion watches. And when the time is right, the whole jungle moves for him. That's the energy you need to carry. You've been told your whole life that if you like someone, you need to pursue them, text them constantly, prove your worth like it's some kind of audition. But here's the truth. They never told you. You were never meant to audition for someone who can't even see your value. Let's break that lie. Chasing them doesn't make you desirable, it makes you replaceable, because people don't chase what's desperate, they chase what's rare, what's mysterious, what's grounded. You've been trying to get noticed by being loud, always available, always agreeable. But real magnetism doesn't come from noise, it comes from silence, it comes from restraint, it comes from mastering the art of pulling back instead of always leaning in. And I get it. Some of you are thinking, but what if they lose interest? What if they forget me? My friend, if someone forgets you the moment you stop texting, they were never interested in you. They were interested in the version of you who chases, who gives, who overextends. You are not meant to be someone's emotional security blanket. You're meant to be someone's peace, not their playground. Here's the fun part, though. The second you pull back, not out of manipulation, but out of genuine self-respect, they start to notice everything. Your silence becomes a mirror. Your absence becomes a question mark. Suddenly they remember your laugh, your voice, your presence. Not because you reminded them, but because you stopped reminding them. You don't need to chase to be chosen. You need to stand still long enough for the right people to see you clearly, like a mountain, not moving, not reacting, just existing in power. The ones meant for you will find their way through the storm to sit at your side. So stay with me, because in this video, I'm not just teaching you how to get them to chase. I'm teaching you how to become the kind of presence they feel, even when you're not in the room. The kind they remember in silence. The kind they crave when attention fades. If that's the energy you're ready to step into, drop this in the comments right now. I attract in stillness. Say it loud. Say it clear. Let the world know what kind of man you're becoming. And don't forget, press that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on all notifications. What's coming next will change the way you see everything. Stay with me, my friends. Number 1. Detach to attract. The power of walking away without bitterness. When you can walk away without turning around, that's when they start running after you. Let that settle in for a second, because too many folks are still out here trying to chase love, chase validation, chase closure, and every step they take toward that person who won't even meet them halfway is another cut they add to their own soul. You think if you try harder, give more, explain yourself just one more time, they'll finally see your worth. But my friends, here's the hard truth. They don't see your worth because you don't act like someone who knows it yourself. Now imagine this. There's a flame burning in the center of a dark room. The flame doesn't chase anyone. It just burns. It gives off warmth. It gives off light. People gather around it, not because it begs them to, but because it draws them in naturally. Now picture someone trying to keep that flame alive by blowing on it desperately, adding fuel too quickly, trying too hard. What happens? The fire flickers, smokes, and eventually it dies. That's what your energy becomes when you chase someone who's pulling away. You smother your own fire. You become less attractive, not more. You might be thinking, but I don't want to lose them. You're afraid that walking away will close the door forever. That silence will mean they move on. That distance will push them into someone else's arms. But let me ask you, what are you really afraid of? Are you afraid of losing them, or are you afraid of facing yourself without the distraction of them? See, detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. It means you've realized that your peace is more important than your need to be understood. And that's terrifying, isn't it? Because when you walk away, you're left with silence, with questions, with the version of yourself that has to rebuild without their validation. But that version of you, that's the most powerful one you'll ever meet. They told you that walking away makes you weak, that you're giving up, that you're quitting on love. That's a lie. Walking away with peace, not bitterness, not drama, not a scene, but real inner calm. That's the most masculine thing you can do, because it means you've mastered your urge to beg for breadcrumbs. It means you've chosen yourself without needing to destroy them. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control, and that's not their actions, their apologies, or their affection. It's our own response. You can't control how they feel. You can't force them to respect you, but you can control whether you stay where you're tolerated or walk away to where you're valued. Let me give it to you straight. When you finally stop explaining yourself, when you stop defending your place in their life, when you stop chasing and start preserving your energy, you become the storm they weren't prepared for. Your silence becomes louder than your presence ever was, and that scares them. Not because you're being cruel, but because they're finally feeling what it's like to lose access to something powerful. They'll notice when you don't react, when you don't text, when you don't watch their stories, when your energy isn't orbiting around them like it used to. And guess what? That's when the pull begins. Because you're not pushing anymore. You're not selling yourself anymore. You're just being. And that's magnetic. But yes, I know it won't be easy. You'll be tempted to check in, to send that "just wanted to make sure you're okay" message, to drop a like, to watch from the shadows. Don't do it. That's the old you. That's the you who was still trying to earn love through sacrifice. The new you. He knows that walking away doesn't mean closing the door on love. It means opening the door to self-respect. And that's what they'll feel most. Your shift, your absence, your calm. Not because you slammed the door, but because you left it quietly, with your head held high. You didn't burn the bridge, you just stopped waiting on the other side. So what do you do now? You work on you, you sharpen your mind, you build your body, you align your values, you level up your purpose, because real attraction doesn't come from pursuing people, it comes from pursuing purpose. And the more you're immersed in that, your calling, your growth, your discipline, the more you stop caring who stays or goes. And ironically, that's when they come back. Not all of them, but the ones who matter. The ones who now see what they missed. Let me leave you with this. You are not meant to be chasing ghosts, folks. You are not meant to be someone's backup plan. If they can't see your value while you're present, make them feel your absence. Stop explaining. Stop apologizing. Stop pleading. You don't need closure. You need clarity. You don't need a second chance. You need a new standard. So if you're ready to reclaim your power, to let go without hate, to walk away without fear, I want you to write this in the comments right now. My silence is strength. Say it like you mean it. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world around you that you're no longer operating from fear. You're moving with purpose. And stay with me, because what's coming next is even more powerful. We're just getting started. Number 2. Magnetic men master mystery. Stop explaining yourself. The more they know about you, the more they think they've figured you out. Mystery dies the moment you over-explain. Let me hit you with this right away. If they know everything about you, if you're always the one explaining, texting, posting, talking, you've already lost your edge. Because what makes someone magnetic isn't what they say, it's what they withhold. The more you explain yourself, the more they put you in a box. And once you're in that box, you're no longer a mystery, you're no longer a challenge, you're just another open book gathering dust on their mental shelf. Now imagine this. 2 fires. One is out in the open, dancing wildly, throwing sparks, burning bright for all to see. The other, hidden deep inside a mountain cave, barely visible but alive, slow burning, silent. Which one do you chase? The flashy one looks nice, but the hidden one, that one makes you curious, makes you want to know more, makes you ask why it's protected, makes you wonder what's inside. That's the power of mystery, my friend. That's the fire you want to become. See, too many men are giving everything away in the first few interactions. They want to be transparent, real, open. And yeah, honesty matters. But there's a difference between being authentic and being accessible. And when you're too accessible, you become predictable. Predictable equals boring. And boring doesn't attract. Boring repels. Now let's get real. Why do you keep explaining yourself? Why do you keep pouring out your thoughts, your pain, your story, your schedule, your location, your plans? It's fear. You're scared that if they don't fully understand you, they won't like you. You think if you just explain your past, your reasons, your wounds, your overthinking, they'll finally get you. But here's the brutal truth. Understanding doesn't equal attraction. Being known is not the same as being desired. In fact, desire often grows in the gaps, not in the clarity. And listen, I know, some of you are thinking, but isn't communication important? Of course it is. But not over-communication, not the kind that drains the mystery out of the moment. You want them to lean in, not because you gave them everything on a platter, but because you gave just enough for their imagination to do the rest. You don't owe anyone a roadmap to your soul. You owe them your presence, your energy, your calm. That's where power lives. Let's break another lie while we're here. You've been told that silence means disinterest, that if you're quiet, they'll forget you, that if you don't keep feeding the conversation, they'll lose interest. Wrong. Silence, when done right, is seduction. It gives them space to wonder, to feel your absence, to sit in the unknown. And trust me, it's in the unknown that obsession begins. Women don't get hooked on answers, they get hooked on questions, on moments that didn't get resolved, on energy that wasn't explained, on the look you gave that said more than words ever could. If you're too busy talking all the time, you rob them of the very experience that creates depth, curiosity. The most magnetic men in history, they weren't loud. They weren't constantly explaining who they were. They let their vibe speak. They let their silence say what words couldn't. They were grounded, calm, controlled, and everyone around them felt that. It's not about being arrogant, it's about being composed. That's Stoicism in its purest form. So here's the shift. Stop volunteering every thought you have. Stop justifying your actions. Stop trying to control how others perceive you through endless clarification. You want to keep your power, then start keeping a little bit of yourself to yourself. Let people earn your story. Let them earn your attention. Let them sit in the wonder of who you might be, because that wonder is more attractive than anything you could ever say. Will this be easy? Nope. You'll feel the urge to explain, to overshare, to make sure they know your intentions. But every time you resist that urge, you add another layer to your mystique. Every time you keep something sacred, you strengthen your value, because the most powerful men don't beg to be understood. They watch who's worthy of understanding them. And I'll tell you this, when you finally stop explaining and just start embodying, everything changes. People feel something different around you. They lean in more, they ask more, they wonder more. And that wondering, that's the hook. That's what draws them in. That's what flips the dynamic from you chasing to them chasing you. So if you're ready to stop oversharing, if you're ready to move in silence, if you're ready to let your energy speak louder than your words, write this in the comments. My mystery is power. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you're no longer available for anyone who hasn't earned the right to know you. Stay with me, because what's coming next? It'll unlock a part of you that even you forgot existed. Number 3. Your energy is the currency. Stop spending it cheaply. Attention is the purest form of currency, and most men are going broke trying to buy love with it. Let's start with a hard truth, my friend. You're leaking energy every time you chase validation, every time you double text, every time you overthink her silence, every time you check who they're with, who they are following, what they are liking. Every time you react instead of reflect, you're giving away pieces of yourself, and trust me, they notice. Maybe not consciously, but energetically. And the message they receive: you are available at a discount. Think about it this way. Imagine walking into a luxury store, let's say Rolex. You look around, admire the craftsmanship, the elegance, the aura. There are no flashing sale signs. No one's begging you to buy. The watches don't chase. They wait. They know what they're worth. Now contrast that with a street vendor shoving fake watches in your face, yelling deals, desperate to sell. Which one feels more valuable? Which one gets respect without ever asking for it? That's what your energy should be: exclusive, quiet, powerful. But here's what's happening. Most men are treating their energy like loose change, tossing it around in conversations that drain them, spending it on people who don't respect it, investing it in hopes that someone else will finally validate their worth. You can't expect to feel like a king if you're behaving like a beggar. And that's not to insult you, it's to wake you up. Because you've been giving too much of yourself to people who haven't even earned a glimpse of your soul. Now let me ask you, what would happen if you actually guarded your energy? If you treated your time, attention, and emotions like gold? How would people respond if you weren't always the first to reply, the first to initiate, the one always available? You know what would happen? You'd shift the power, you'd flip the dynamic, you'd stop being an option and start becoming an obsession. Most people chase what feels scarce, not in a manipulative way, but in a value-driven way. Scarcity builds respect. Scarcity creates curiosity. Scarcity amplifies presence. That's why Stoics don't throw their energy everywhere. They conserve it, refine it, direct it inward first, because they know their peace is too sacred to waste on anyone who doesn't treat it as such. And I know, you want to be nice, right? You want to be available. You think being emotionally generous will make them love you. But here's the trap. When you're always available, you're taken for granted. Not because they're evil, but because humans are wired to devalue what they don't have to work for. It's not fair, but it's real. So what do? You reclaim your focus. You get intentional with where your energy goes. You stop scrolling endlessly through their social media. You stop watching stories that make your stomach twist. You stop crafting the perfect response to a message they barely took 2 seconds to send. That's not strength. That's self-abandonment. And it has to end. Redirect that energy into things that actually grow you. Your purpose, your health, your discipline, your craft, your presence. When you invest in yourself instead of chasing them, something powerful happens. They feel it. Your vibe changes. You walk different, talk different, move different. And suddenly you're not trying to attract, they're trying to access you. And it's not about pretending to be distant. It's about being so full of purpose that you're no longer thirsty for attention. That's the kind of man who draws people in without saying a word. You know why? Because his energy says, I don't need you to choose me. I've already chosen myself. But yes, this takes discipline. You're going to feel the pull to check your phone. You're going to feel the itch to respond quickly, to be the nice guy, to over-explain why you're pulling back. Don't fall into that trap. Let them feel your absence. Let them experience the shift. Let your energy become a mirror that forces them to confront how they treated you. You're not cold, you're not bitter, you're not playing games, you're just no longer entertaining anything that drains you. And that's what Stoicism is. It's not emotionless, it's emotionally mastered. It's choosing not to bleed for people who wouldn't even hand you a bandage. So from this point on, treat your energy like royalty. Be mindful of what you give and to whom, because not everyone deserves your warmth. Not everyone is ready for your presence. And you're not here to be drained. You're here to be divine. If you're ready to stop leaking energy and start moving with focus, discipline, and respect, then write this in the comments right now. My energy is gold. Say it like you mean it. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world around you that you're done being available for cheap attention, and stay with me, because what I'm about to share next will teach you how to lead every emotional frame without ever raising your voice. We're going deeper. Let's keep going. Number 4. Control the frame. Never let them lead the emotional story. If you don't own the frame, you live in theirs, and the one who controls the frame controls the outcome. Let's cut straight to it. If you're constantly reacting to their moods, their texts, their silence, their behavior, you're not in control. You're living inside their emotional frame. And the moment you hand someone else the keys to your emotional state, you become their puppet. They move, you dance. They withdraw, you panic. They test you, and you chase validation like it's the air you need to breathe. That's not power, my friend. That's surrender dressed up as sensitivity. Now, imagine this. You walk into a room with a candle in your hand. It's lit. You're calm. You're centered, but as soon as someone frowns at you, you throw the candle across the room just to make them smile. And now you're in the dark. And so are they. That's what it looks like when you give up your frame. You extinguish your light, trying to fix someone else's mood. You lose yourself trying to manage how they feel about you. And in the end, both of you are left fumbling in confusion. Here's the truth that'll slap the old you awake. They will test your frame, not because they're evil, but because they want to see what you're made of. Will you fold? Will you flinch? Will you bend every time there's tension? Because if you do, they know exactly who's leading, and it's not you. And no, controlling the frame doesn't mean being controlling. It doesn't mean being loud. It doesn't mean dominating or barking orders. It means being rooted. It means having a strong internal reality that isn't swayed by outside chaos. It means staying composed when they throw shade, silence, or sarcasm your way. And trust me, when you stop chasing emotional reassurance and start owning the narrative, you become magnetic. See, most men don't even realize they've lost the frame. They give it up the second they start explaining themselves too much, apologizing for being honest, shrinking their truth to avoid discomfort. That's how they fall into emotional debt. They pay for peace with their own power. And here's the worst part. The more you try to please them emotionally, the less they respect you. Because you're not leading anymore. You're following. You're reacting. You're letting their mood become your compass. But Stoicism teaches you to hold the frame like a rock in the middle of a storm. No matter how wild the waves get, you remain unmoved. You don't need to control them. You only need to command yourself. And that right there, that's what makes you untouchable, because they can't manipulate a man who doesn't need their approval to stay centered. Let's break a lie right now. They told you that being a real man means being emotionally available 24/7, that if you don't respond to every emotional cue, you're cold or toxic. Nonsense. There's a difference between emotional availability and emotional dependence. When your peace relies on how someone else feels about you, you've made them your god, and no one should have that kind of power over you, ever. You need to become the thermostat, not the thermometer. The thermostat sets the temperature, the thermometer reacts to it, and most men, they're thermometers, constantly reacting, constantly adjusting, constantly trying to keep the peace. But the men who attract deeply, the ones who lead with calm and conviction, they set the emotional tone and never apologize for it. You want to shift the power, then stop asking where you stand and start standing somewhere. Don't wait for someone else to define the dynamic. You define it. You walk into every connection knowing exactly what energy you bring. You don't chase their comfort. You protect your center. And when someone disrespects your boundaries, you don't explode or explain. You simply withdraw. That's how the frame is held. Quietly, firmly, without theatrics. And yeah, I know, it's going to feel hard at first. You're going to feel the urge to justify yourself, to clarify things, to ease their emotional storms by giving up your own clarity. But every time you resist that urge, you become stronger. Every time you stay composed while they expect you to spiral, you become unpredictable. And unpredictability, when anchored in calm, is incredibly attractive. So what's the takeaway? From now on, you hold the frame. You decide what emotional reality you live in. You don't shrink for validation. You don't adapt to chaos. You walk in as the calm, the anchor, the presence. And the more you do this, the more others start adjusting to you. That's leadership. That's masculine energy. That's the frame that makes them chase. If you're ready to stop reacting and start leading with calm presence and power, then write this in the comments right now. I hold the frame. Say it like you mean it. Show them, show yourself, show the world that your emotional state is no longer up for negotiation. Stay with me, because up next we'll go even deeper into the kind of stoic control that makes your silence echo louder than their noise. Let's keep building. Number 5. Master emotional indifference. Be unbothered, not uncaring. They will try to shake you just to see if you're still standing in your power. There's a reason they test you, a reason they push buttons, go cold, say things they know might sting. It's not always out of malice, it's often curiosity. They want to know what you're made of. Are you calm because life is calm? Or are you unshakable because you've mastered yourself? That's the real question. And most men, they fail that test every single time. You see, folks, there's a massive difference between being unbothered and being cold, and if you don't learn this, you'll either become emotionally numb or emotionally wrecked. Both are traps. Cold men build walls, weak men crumble, but stoic men, they remain rooted. They feel everything, but they bow to nothing. Emotional indifference doesn't mean you don't care. It means you refuse to be controlled by how they act, how they react, or how they try to provoke you. Now, let me give you a picture. Think of a mountain. It doesn't matter if it's raining, snowing, thundering, or shining bright sunshine. The mountain stays still. It sees it all, stands through it all. It doesn't scream at the clouds or beg the storm to calm down. It knows this too shall pass. That's the energy you need to carry, because let's be honest, most of you are reacting to every emotional shift like it's a fire alarm, a delayed text, and suddenly you spiral. A cold tone in her message and your confidence is in the trash. A quiet evening and you're convinced they with someone else. Let's wake up from that. Here's the brutal truth. When you show them that your emotions are easily swayed, you give them the script to your power. Now they know what to say to rattle you. Now they know which silences break you. And some will use that knowledge, not because they're evil, but because they want to feel something too. And if chaos is the only way they feel control, they'll create chaos just to see you fold. But the moment you become emotionally indifferent, not numb, not detached, but unshakably composed, everything changes. They start wondering why you're not reacting. They question your silence. They overanalyze your calm. And suddenly, they're the ones chasing certainty, because you're no longer giving it away for free. Let me make something very clear, though. Emotional indifference is not apathy. It's not about not caring about people. It's about caring about yourself enough not to let anyone pull you out of alignment. It's about choosing stillness over chaos, response over reaction, and peace over panic. And yeah, it's hard, because the old you wants to react. He wants to defend himself. He wants to check her status. He wants to send that emotionally loaded paragraph that clears the air. But ask yourself this: has that ever worked? Has it ever made her respect you more? Or did it just confirm what they already suspected, that you're too emotionally available for someone who hasn't earned it? The men who master emotional indifference, they're not heartless, they're just self-led. They don't crumble under silence. They don't beg for closure. They don't perform for attention. They simply live by a code. My peace is not up for negotiation. And when you carry that energy, the dynamic shifts. Now you become the center of gravity. Now they start wondering what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you'll do next. Not because you're playing games, but because you're not playing at all. You're just being. And in a world full of noise, stillness is magnetic. Let's break another lie. You've been told that being sensitive is attractive, that vulnerability is king, that showing your emotional depth makes you irresistible. But here's the real truth. Unfiltered vulnerability without boundaries is just self-sabotage. Your emotions are sacred. They are not weapons. They are not bait. They are not content for someone else's ego. You share them when it's safe, when it's earned, not when it's tested. So how do you get there? You build a strong inner world. You stop reacting to every trigger like it's life or death. You take a breath. You delay your response. You ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Is this behavior pulling me out of character? And most importantly, you remind yourself that the goal isn't to win the moment. The goal is to win your own respect. Because when you respect yourself, the world follows. You want to be unforgettable? Be the one they couldn't shake. Be the one who stayed calm while everyone else lost their minds. Be the one who didn't send the angry message, who didn't fold under pressure, who didn't perform for attention. That's the kind of man they remember. That's the kind of presence they chase, not because you manipulated the game, but because you refused to play it. So, if you're ready to master this kind of emotional discipline, if you're ready to stop reacting and start reigning in your calm like the mountain you were born to be, drop this in the comments right now. I am unshakable. Say it like you mean it. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you've stopped bleeding emotions for people who never deserved your wounds. And stay with me, because up next, we're rebuilding your identity from the ground up. The chaser dies here. The high-value man rises next. Let's go. Number 6. Presence over performance. The Stoic aura that pulls them in. Stillness is the loudest flex. The man who doesn't perform for attention commands the most of it. Let me say something you might not hear often enough. You don't have to try so hard. You don't need to crack the perfect joke. You don't need to be the loudest in the room. You don't need to constantly prove you're interesting to hold someone's attention. That kind of energy, it burns fast and dies faster. Because at the end of the day, the people who truly captivate others aren't the ones who perform. They're the ones who are present, rooted, calm, certain. The kind of people who walk into a room and don't need to say much, because their energy speaks first. You've been told a lie that you need to perform to be noticed, that you need to constantly show up as someone else, flashier, funnier, cooler, more agreeable, but that's not presence, that's pressure, that's pretending. And it's why you feel so drained after interactions where you're constantly trying to impress, because deep down you're betraying your natural power. Now imagine this, a still lake at dawn. No waves, no noise, just silence and reflection. You can see everything clearly. It draws you in without effort. You don't look at it, you feel it. That's the energy of real presence. And most men today, they're storms in a teacup, loud, messy, desperate to be seen. But the lake, it's unmoved, it's unbothered, and that's what makes it unforgettable. Your goal isn't to be liked, it's to be felt, and you become someone who's felt, not by trying harder, but by being more of who you are when the mask is off, when you're grounded, when you're not looking for approval, when you're simply there, breathing, observing, owning the moment, not trying to control it. Women feel energy. They know when you're genuinely present and when your attention is split between your insecurities and your performance. The truth is, most men never truly show up. They're too busy calculating. Should I say this? Should I text now? What if they doesn't reply? All of that noise. That's what makes you forgettable, because it pulls you out of the now, and when you're not in the now, they don't feel you. Presence is about slowing down. It's about letting your words come from a still place, not a reactive one. It's about listening without the need to respond. It's about holding eye contact, not to intimidate, but to connect. It's about giving someone your full awareness, not because you're trying to win them over, but because you already know your value. This is what Stoicism teaches. It's not about being detached from the world. It's about being fully in it without being ruled by it. You can walk through a storm with peace in your chest. You can sit across from someone you desire and still be whole, whether they choose you or not. Because you've made peace with this truth. You are enough, exactly as you are, without performance. And this shift? It's not just about women, it's about life. You want to be the man who moves through the world with purpose, with clarity, with fire in his chest, but ice in his veins. You want to be the man whose presence makes people pause, not because of how loud he is, but because of how still he is. You've spent too long chasing external reactions, and what has it gotten you? Anxiety, confusion, emptiness. It's time to come home to yourself, to step into the kind of presence that doesn't beg to be noticed. It just is. And when you carry that energy, when you're no longer looking to entertain or impress, they chase you, not for what you say, but for how you make them feel, safe, curious, drawn in. And yes, it takes discipline to get here. It takes silence. It takes still mornings and hard reflections. It takes walking away from the urge to please. But when you choose presence over performance, you unlock a deeper level of life, a deeper level of connection, and a deeper level of you. So from this moment forward, no more chasing validation, no more playing a role. You are the presence, you are the calm, you are the storm they didn't see coming. And if you feel this shift rising in you, if you're ready to stop being the entertainer and start being the force, drop this in the comments right now. I am the presence. Say it boldly. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that the game has changed because you have changed. And if this video woke something up inside you, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on all notifications. This is only the beginning. What's coming next will take everything we've built here and raise it tenfold. So stay tuned and walk with power.